Welcome back to Secret of This World, the podcast where we uncover the untold stories that define human history and culture. Today's episode continues our journey into the Batak traditions of Sumatra, Indonesia, a deeply personal and haunting recollection of an ancient custom that connects justice, guilt, and what the Batak people believe to be their ultimate responsibility. This story isn't about distant tribes or abstract rituals. It's about the whispers of the past that linger within families, passed down through generations, like fragile secrets. When I was 13 or 14 years old, I finally confronted my mother and grandmother. By then, I had pieced together fragments of stories I had overheard as a child, stories about punishments and ritual cannibalism. I told them what I had heard on those nights when they assumed I was fast asleep. I described the sentences read aloud by the tribal chief, the fires burning bright under the moonlight, and the crowd rushing forward to take flesh from a living person. Their reaction was one I'll never forget. They looked at me with horror, their faces pale with disbelief. It was as if a veil had been lifted. A part of our family's history they thought had been buried, now exposed. They didn't deny it. Instead, they explained the reason behind it, their voices heavy with emotion. My grandmother, still alive at the time, shared what her great-great-grandmother had passed down to her. The reason for these rituals, they told me, was not simply about punishment or cruelty. It was about responsibility. If someone in our family commits a terrible act, my grandmother said, it is not just their shame, it is our shame as a family, as a community. The act of eating the guilty person wasn't just a sentence. It was a way of absorbing the guilt, a way of collectively owning the crime and ensuring that justice was served, not just for the victim, but for the entire tribe. And here's the most chilling part. My grandmother explained that the cycle of responsibility wasn't just for the guilty, it was for all of us. If another member of the family were ever to commit a similar act, they too would face the same punishment. It's a warning, she said, a reminder to everyone in the tribe that we are responsible for our actions. If one of us fails, we all carry the burden, and if we fail, we will face the same fate. As I listened to their words, I realized that this wasn't just a form of punishment. It was a contract, a system designed to hold the tribe accountable, to ensure that every individual understood their place within the community. Responsibility wasn't just a personal burden, it was shared, enforced, and remembered. Every act of cannibalism was as much about preventing future transgressions as it was about addressing past ones. This was a law of survival, born in a world where justice needed to be swift, visible, and absolute. Looking back now, I understand why my mother and grandmother were so horrified by my knowledge. These weren't stories they wanted to share. They were memories they hoped would fade with time. But for me, that conversation was a turning point. It was the moment I realized that the weight of history, even the darkest parts, cannot be ignored. It shapes who we are, how we live, and the stories we carry forward. This tale isn't about glorifying the past. It's about confronting it, understanding it, and asking ourselves the hard questions. What does responsibility mean? How do we define justice? And how far are we willing to go to protect the values of our community? Thank you for joining me on this deeply personal episode of Secret of This World. In our next episode, we'll explore the intersection of tribal justice and modern ethics, diving into stories that challenge our perceptions of morality and humanity. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Got a question or a story you'd like us to explore? Drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious and remember, the world's secrets are waiting to be uncovered.